What's up, everybody? This is Geopolitical Realist, and today I'm going to be going over this huge policy change that's coming to the Air Force when it comes to PT. So, effectively, all airmen, enlisted and the officer side, are going to have to do PT Monday through Friday. Okay, and there's some background on this. About like 2 months ago, I think in September, Pete Hegseth had that big meeting with the generals, and he said, "Hey, listen." We are not embodying warrior ethos across the entire military. We have fat generals, we have fat upper enlisted, all kinds of folks throughout the entirety of the military, whether it be reserves, guard, or active duty, are coming in like they're getting into the service, and then afterward they are becoming overweight. They're on waivers for the PT test, and it's just like it makes the services look terrible when you see these people. And it does when you see these memes of like an overweight National Guard soldier running around in LA or something like that. Or there's a formation and like half of them are fat. It makes our military look like crap, okay? And it should be embarrassing to everyone who wears a uniform. But what happens is that these individuals are not truly held accountable. They're not pushed out, like they're not given, their one chance and then they're pushed out or anything. It takes a long time to get these people out of there, or they have friends within their flight, their unit, whatever, and they stay in forever. I would have to say like the upper enlisted and the upper officer ranks, these folks, and they never address this issue. They never ever address this. But a majority of them, in my opinion, when I was in, they are effectively on PT waivers until they retire. Okay, you see them, they get big, they don't go to the PT formations that we have. Like they just don't do anything. And it's like, well, I have a waiver, I'm sick, blah blah blah, and they're never thrown out of the service because they're too close to retirement. So they're never held accountable. But back to the main point here, what we're talking about here, and I'll kind of come back to that. So they're going to have. It looks like the Air Force is going to have mandatory PT starting in about 2 months. So, like, 1 month, because this was issued in September 30th by Pete Hegseth. Hey, you need to have mandatory, we need to embody this warrior ethos. Everybody has to be doing PT in 60 days. So, like 2 days after Thanksgiving, right here, it says this will run out 2 days after Thanksgiving. So, by Christmas, every squadron should be having a mandatory PT. And a lot of these commanders, these local commanders, are stepping up already, and they're saying, "Hey, we're going to implement it right now. And we're going to kind of see all the issues that are gonna come about because everyone will be doing PT every day at your base." So they're already seeing issues when it comes to, hey, there's not enough showers, the gym and like the outdoor facilities are just full of people doing PT, and it's kind of a mess right now, and they're gonna have to figure out how to accommodate everyone having to do PT Monday through Friday. So, you know, I think it's a what's so messed up about all this, and the Air Force is the best branch when it comes to quality of life, and it still remains the best branch when it comes to quality of life. I would say it's either the Air Force or Space Force, which is effectively the Air Force. If you want a more corporatized work lifestyle where you're treated a little bit better and like you're treated more like an adult, kind of like stuff like this, you're not being treated but like an adult anymore. If you're an upstanding airman, okay, this is a punishment in a sense, okay? If you were an airman who kept themselves in shape, scored a 90 on the PT test every time you had to take it, so you'd have 1 year of respite from having to take the test, you're being punished now because so many airmen and airwomen, they just can't do it. They just can't hold themselves accountable. And this is a thing that you're seeing throughout society. People are unable to hold themselves accountable. There's no more accountability. So now everyone's being treated like a child. Everyone, all the people who hold that level of respect for themselves, they do what they have to do. They're being brought down by all of those who have no accountability whatsoever. So it's a giant mess. And now the good airmen in our service, they're getting punished. They're just going to be all punished for this. And the people who, who are overweight, who don't do PT, like they don't care, or they have some issue, or whatever excuse they have, they're a lot of them are not going to be in shape after all this. They'll get a waiver from PT. Okay, this is not going to solve that problem. The way you solve this is specifically targeting these individuals and holding them accountable. Say, hey, listen, I know you've been in the service for 10 years. If you don't get in shape, if you don't figure it out, okay, if you don't eat less, if you don't work out more, guess what? You're going to be kicked out of the Air Force. And you know what? That retirement that you're working towards, the reason why you stayed in for 10 years, is going to go bye-bye, okay? Those people will then have to shape up. And if they don't want to shape up, that's fine. That's fine. They get kicked out, okay? That's what they have to do. They have to streamline the way they can kick these people out if they're not staying in shape. Don't punish every single person in the Air Force or in the Marines or in the Army. They already have mandatory PT, and that's kind of a good thing for them. But don't punish everybody in our military service for those who do not maintain the standards, the simple standards, okay? The Air Force PT test is easy, yet people fail it, okay? That's insane. When I was in, this was kind of like a post-COVID thing, a bunch of people failed in my squadron. Guess what? We had mandatory PT after that, even though, say me, for example, I was maintaining the standards. I would pass the PT test with over a 90 every single time. I, myself, and many other airmen who were very physically acclimated, doing sports, etc., were punished. This is punishment for those who can't hold the standards of the Air Force or any other branch. And so if you're somebody who's coming into the Air Force right now, I would say this, like, listen, this is a huge thing. You got to hear me out, okay? Stay in the dorms as long as possible, okay? Until, like, don't be a senior airman in the dorms. It's kind of like not a good sign. It doesn't look good. But stay in the dorms as long as possible, because it's going to be such a huge benefit that, hey, you're in the dorms. You can go back to your dorm and take a shower after PT, okay? It's way better to be able to go back home and shower and change, and then go to work, versus you have to wait at the gym for the shower, or you really can't commute back home and then come back to work. There's not enough time. They might give you like an hour to come back to work after PT in the morning. That's not enough time to go home, shower quick, and then come back to work. Now, maybe there's some bases where the housing off base is close, but it's not. There's not a lot of bases like that. Or if there's apartments right outside the base, you should move into those once you have, they give you BAH, etc. And especially, like, let's say you're an airman, you get out of the dorms, try and get a house on base. Try. I know it's just totally like the backlist to get onto any sort of base housing is insane now because of the cost of living rises, and like base housing is so much better of a deal now compared to, like, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, because everything is just, the cost of living is totally out of control. And the military, the Air Force, they've kept the housing on base lower on average than compared to off base. So try and get that, guys. If you can get on base, even as a single airman, do it. It's just so superior to be able to get off PT, go home, shower, get dressed, and go back to work. It's so much better for quality of life. I highly, highly recommend that. That should be your prerogative going forward now that this change is coming, that all Air Force members are going to have to do mandatory PT. And might tell you something too, the officers and the upper enlisted, and this is why there's no accountability in our military as for this stuff too, they're going to snake their way out of a lot of this mandatory PT. Oh, I have to do this. I have to get ready for this meeting. Oh, this, that, the other thing. They're going to get out of it, a lot of these people. And that's not accountability. That's not teamwork. That's not, being a wingman. It's just, people are so in it for themselves now. And like the people who do what's right, who stay up the standard, they're just punished by the system. And then they look around and they see all the hypocrisy that's just pervasive everywhere. It's not fair. And, you guys, some guys are like, why are you getting upset about this? It's just, it's so annoying. It's so embarrassing to see this stuff that these issues are not being solved. And, everyone says it, but it's just like a natural, downturn that we're seeing in quality of life and in society, that we're becoming more and more of a low trust society, and it's just getting wilder out there. And you really can't hold people accountable anywhere, whether it's in the military or if it's simply in some sort of public transportation system where people just have to pay $1 or two to ride the train or a bus. No, people don't even want to do that. They want to just ride the bus or the train for free. So how about, oh, we'll just make it free so there's no more friction anymore, and the bus driver or the train conductor, they're not in fear for their lives because some crazy person's going to crash out on them because they have to pay $2 to ride the bus or the train. It's We live in a sad world, but folks, let me tell you something. I'll end with this. The Air Force is still the best branch to join when it comes to quality of life, next with the Space Force. And even with this PT change, it's still worth it to at least do one contract in the Air Force to become a veteran, to get that DD 214, to get the benefits like a home loan and education. Don't waver from wanting to join the military because you have to do mandatory PT. This could be a good thing too. You could be in the best shape in your life. You look better. Your looks maxing. Naturally your job is making you more active and everything like that. That could be a good thing as well. But it sucks. Like I feel for all you guys who you do what has to be done. You're working out all the time already, like every evening. Like this is like, think about this too. There's guys who they go to the gym after work and they work out. They have a regimented workout schedule. Yet now, for most of the time, they can't do that anymore because they have PT in the morning. Like they have to factor that in if they want to go work out in the evening, or they have team sports on like Tuesday and Thursday. Like how does that all factor in? Like into their workout plan? It's going to hurt those guys who really take their physical fitness seriously and they enjoy it. Now they have to think, okay, well, I have to work out in the morning. Are my muscles going to be, up to par in the evening? Like, so it's going to just throw a lot of stuff off. But guys, like I've said, join the Air Force. If you're thinking about joining the military, join the Air Force or the Space Force. Best quality of life, even with this being implemented. Get a good job in the Air Force that you'll enjoy, that's fun, or it's very laid back. That's the way to go. And do like the shortest contract, do 4 years. Or if you want to make a career out of it, make a career out of it. You can't go wrong, I would say. But this is just a sad thing to see, that the issues with those who can't stay up to standard are not being addressed. Everyone's just going to be broadly punished for what, like the issues that the few, or I would say there's a lot of people who are not fit in the military and specifically the Air Force, but everyone's just going to get punished. All right, guys, this is Geopolitical Realist. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll put the article link below if you want to read it yourself. Have a great day. Please like and subscribe. Have a good one. Goodbye.